Hey super friends, my name is Neil and today we're back with another video discussing the ongoing production of Warner Brothers and HBO Max's Batgirl movie. Today we are taking a first look at Leslie Grace in costume! Before we get into it, if you like our video content, then make sure to hit the subscribe button, and there's that little notification bell dingy thing that will tell you when we release new videos. And if you really like it, then please give us a thumbs up, and always leave a comment to let us know if you enjoyed our videos. So, today we are talking about the reveal of Leslie Grace in costume as Batgirl on the set of the film in Glasgow as production rolls on. So last night, the directors Adil Arbi and Bilall Fallah released. They were teasing on their Instagram stories that did fans want to see a first look of Leslie in costume. They followed that up with an image of Yvonne Craig on the set of Batman 66 in her purple and yellow suit, which kind of gave us an indication as to what was going to come next. And then lo and behold, we got this, our first look at Leslie striking a pose on the rooftops of Glasgow/Gotham. In a very, very, very heavily Burnside-inspired Batgirl costume. So let's take a look at some of the fine details here. So she's got the purple biker jacket, the purple trousers. They've kept the yellow boots, which is exactly from how this costume was shown in the comics. She's got the half-length cape with the black outer and the yellow inner, and the kind of biker helmet adapted version of the cowl, along with the yellow chest plate, and they've obviously gone for the purple colouring. So for those who've not read the comics, the Batgirl of Burnside era is from 2014. It was a version of the costume that was designed by artist Babs Tarr, along with writers Cameron Stewart and Brendan Fletcher. It came towards the end of the New 52 era of the comics, but not as part of the Rebirth relaunch, if that makes sense. So towards the end of the New 52, there was the huge Death of the Family arc, which was when Joker came to kind of rip apart Batman's family, inspired by the whole idea of death in the family from when Joker had killed Jason Todd. And as part of that, Batgirl was wrapped up in it. There was a story which revolved around her brother James, which brought in the whole Gordon family. And after that, it was felt that maybe the Batgirl title had gone a little bit too dark, and so it was kind of softly rebooted with Batgirl moving out of her Cherry Hill apartment and moving to the Burnside suburb of Gotham, which is over the river from kind of main central Gotham. So she would move to Burnside, get rid of the black and yellow costume, which people are familiar with from that New 52 run, and also the Arkham games, and it would eventually be replaced by this homemade kind of purple biker outfit, which is adapted. It's very homemade, it's very back to basics, and that's how Barbara was for this Burnside arc. The actual Batgirl of Burnside arc is just volume 1 of what Fletcher and Stewart were doing with Babs Tarr. They actually worked on a 50-issue run which would take Batgirl all the way from this initial Burnside relaunch to when the whole series would relaunch as part of Rebirth. Anyway, back to what Grace is wearing in this image. So there's two versions of the photo which are floating around the internet. There is a wider shot which shows the full costume, where we can see that she's got the yellow kind of Doc Martin boots, and then there's a slightly more close-up version, which is it's the same pose, it's on the same photo, it's just zoomed in slightly, where you can get a closer look at some of the detailing. So it's clear that this is a costume that's been homemade, and that is completely in with the origin of the character. If we go back to Batgirl Year 1, which Grace quoted in her Instagram and Twitter post revealing this image, although in Year 1, Barbara is wearing a grey and yellow version of the Batgirl outfit with the blue cape, it's worth noting that the way that origin works is that she wants to be a detective in the GCPD, which we know this version of the character will be in this film. Her father is reluctant to allow her to do that, and so she kind of gets back at him because she does like Batman, she's inspired by Batman, she wants to help people, so she attends the GCPD masquerade ball, kind of cosplaying, as it were, as Batman. So she puts together a homemade Batman suit which is fitted to her body to attend that party, to kind of give the middle finger to her dad and say, well look, I can be a detective, I can be the world's greatest detective. And it's at that party where they are attacked by Firefly, which is where you get the whole origin of Batgirl versus Firefly being her first mission. Now we know that Firefly is involved here, and most likely played by Brendan Fraser. So there is, although this is a costume from later in her crime-fighting career, it's very much a story which seems to be inspired by her very early days. It's just that we've picked a slightly more specific version of the costume. We can see that she's got the usual utility belt. It does seem to have pouches on it. At this point in time in the comics, when she wears this outfit, she does have access to some Wayne tech because she is working with Bruce. He is aware of who she is. There is that Bat family history. What we're likely to see in the film here is something much more homemade. There does seem to be a grappling gun or something in the holster just on the side on her leg, which you can see in this image. So there's a suggestion that there is some homemade tech there. Again, there's a precedent for this in the comics and the cartoons and the games, whereby she does put together some kind of low-grade version of Bat tech, and it's only when she then falls in with Bruce that she's able to upgrade things. So of course, there's a chance that this is a Mark I costume, and that maybe later in the film she'll have an upgraded costume, or maybe in another film, depending on how well that relationship with Michael Keaton's Bruce or Batman kind of plays out in this film here. There's a lot that we're obviously yet to understand. I think another fact that we should pick up on in this is the fact that this is the first time we're seeing an official photo with her wearing her Batgirl wig. Now, the first set photos of Grace that we talked about in our last video, we talked about the fact that she wasn't wearing one. And then there are later set photos where she's walking around with kind of a beanie hat on, but she has the red hair that's also seen in this picture. So I think it's safe to say that Leslie Grace is wearing a wig whilst actually playing the role of Barbara, and that those first photos we saw were her just not yet fully prepared to start shooting. Obviously there is also a precedent for Batgirl to wear a wig. That's something that Batwoman does, and we see her do that in both the comics and her CW show. But in terms of Batgirl, Yvonne Craig her version of Barbara Gordon did wear a wig in the Batman 66 show. Those of you who remember will know that she, in her apartment, she would go into her bedroom, flip a switch on her kind of vanity stand, and it would flip around, and there would be the Batgirl costume hanging and the red-haired wig that she would then put on. I highly doubt that's what they're doing here. It's going to be a case of she's a natural redhead, and that's why we've seen her wearing it in both her Barbara Gordon and now her Batgirl forms on set. Other, I think, details that we need to pick up on. Obviously, in the comics, when you look at this version of the costume, it's not reflected as being particularly shiny. It looks very matte in terms of colouring, and that is a stylistic choice of Babs Tarr and the other artists who have worked on this book. Here, we're seeing that reflected in real-world textures and real-world materials. So it's a leather biker suit. It's a leather jacket, it's leather trousers that she has customised into this suit. So this is very much going to be an origin story of a handmade Batgirl putting herself together and going out into the streets to fight crime. Now, whether that's because of something that happens or is happening within the GCPD, whether there's corruption there, we know there's obviously a precedent for that within all of the comics and all of the Batman histories past. So it could be that she is inspired by trying to do right and feeling she can't do that within the police force, that she steps out as a vigilante. Or there could be something here that ties to the wider world of The Flash and Batman having been Ben Affleck and now being Michael Keaton. Perhaps, there are rumours that Ben Affleck's Batman has died. People don't believe that there is a Batman anymore. Michael Keaton's Batman maybe not as active given that he's an older man. A need for the city to have a hero, and she feels that she has to be the one to step up and do it. There are a lot of potential options here for Leslie Grace's version of the character to step up and be the hero that Gotham needs, or maybe the hero that Gotham deserves. We'll just have to wait and see. I think another important thing just to mention, actually, while we're talking about the production on this, they've now wrapped up filming in the Trongate area of Glasgow and they're moving to elsewhere within the city. It's clear that this photo was released so that they could maybe jump ahead of any potential press photo leaks that might have shown her in shooting and not in the quality that we've got here. But some of the other set details that we've seen this week include a lot of magazines from a newsstand. All of those are dated November 2022. There's one which features the name of the Court of Owls, and they're being kind of explored by that particular magazine. There's another which is doing a retrospective on the works of Vicky Vale, which is a very interesting plot point which connects back to Michael Keaton's version of Batman, and another which looks at Lex Luthor, who is still in prison. Now, obviously, we know from the Justice League stinger he'd broken out, so perhaps he's been recaptured by Superman or Supergirl and is now back in prison, or perhaps we're kind of ignoring that stinger from the Justice League film. Who knows? We're in a post-Flash world here, so Anything is possible. But what I wanted to just note was that if you look at all of those magazine covers closely, they are all editions from November 2022, and that can obviously potentially give us a signifier as to when to expect to see this film. We know that the set has been decorated with Christmas decorations. There is a Christmas department store. There's snow around. There's icicles hanging from the traffic lights and stuff. There's lots of small details that show that this is winter and it's Christmas. In this picture, we can see in the wider version of this picture, we can see that Barbara is standing on a kind of snowy rooftop as well. So it's clear that this film is set at Christmas. I think if you pair that with the November 2022 dates on the magazines on the newsstands, we can expect that we're going to see this film in kind of November, December time this year. That is a guess. We don't know that for sure yet, but that seems to be the way that we are leaning towards. That's probably all we can say based on just this one photo. We'll have to wait until we see more of her in action. I would love to know what you think of this version of Leslie Gross's costume, so let me know in the comments below, or you can find me on social media at NeilVag, or you can find us at Get Your Comic Con. Until the next time, bye! Thanks for watching, Super Friends. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the subscribe button just down below and hit the bell so that you can get notified whenever we release brand new videos. In fact, there's 2 more waiting for you to watch right here below. So what are you waiting for? Why not click play?